So how many of you are, by a show of hands, familiar with Roe v. Wade, the court case from the 70s? 2 people. Okay. 3 people. 4 or 5. All right. Well, for those who don't know, it legalized abortions in this country, which allowed for, it put the power in the state's hands to regulate it as far as whatever they wanted to do. And in Arizona, we have the strictest abortion regulations. Good morning, my name is Stephen. In Arizona, a woman is allowed 20 weeks to have an abortion legally, and that period starts after her last menstrual cycle. So the woman may not even know she's pregnant, like 3 or 4 weeks into that cycle, and then she has to really think about it without a lot of time and then make that decision, and it's really not fair. I was adopted as a child, and I was raised in a good family, and I kind of felt a duty to research this topic to see why people do this, and I came to the conclusion that the government really shouldn't have any say in the matter whatsoever. This is a personal choice, not something that needs to be regulated by law. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the problem, that the government has this power, go through the causes, and then hopefully provide some solutions that some of you can take into your own hands and take action on that. So the problem is that the government is very strict on the matter, and 20 weeks, like I mentioned before, is not enough for a woman to make that decision. You're forcing some of these women who are in bad situations to raise a child. According to Jennifer Wolf, who had a bunch of statistics on abortion, the #1 reason that women did this was 73% said they couldn't afford it, and 46% said they didn't want to raise a child in a poor environment, in poor conditions, which I believe that's justified. No one should have to raise a child. A child shouldn't be raised in that environment. The legislation in Arizona has repeatedly gone after this and set up things that are preventing women from having this choice, and that's really not fair. And this has been caused by a number of things. All the legality of it, there's just been a big mess countrywide, nationwide, but really in the state, people are very narrow-minded and just think things should be a certain way, but they shouldn't be. And a lot of people really don't know what's going on. I mentioned those statistics before, and I also found out, according to the 2009 census, that there are 13.7 million single parents in the country, raising 21.8 children. That's almost 2 kids per single parent. And those are kids who aren't having the full benefits of a really healthy family. This is also caused by, I think, a lack of information and knowledge about adoption. Adoption allows those parents to go through with raising the child and not having to terminate it, and still putting that child in a good, loving environment. But the problem with adoption is it's a very expensive process. It can cost families who want to apply for adoption up to tens of thousands of dollars. And I spoke with my parents, and they had to wait 6 years before they could get approved for this. So a lot of families are just waiting for this, and people are forced to have adoptions very quickly, and they can't really decide on what they want to do. So some of the solutions that people can come up with: be knowledgeable about the topic on all aspects, understand what abortions really are, understand who you're voting for and what those people represent and support. If they're going to continue to put roadblocks up for women and cause them to make very irrational and quick decisions, it's not fair to them. And also do your research on local adoption clinics and their processes and see how they approach the topic and subject and what they cause families to go through, because I think it's really unfair that some families have to wait, you know, years after years to have a child because they can't have their own. So do the research on those topics and maybe even reach out to clinics and see what their processes are and see how maybe they could improve on them, come up with your own improvements, or just go over that by yourself and just think of something you can do. Change is inevitable. In the 70s, Roe versus Wade happened, and that changed things in the country. And now it's time for, I think, us to do something about this and on a state level and be able to change the way other people operate and how abortions are handled, making it more of a personal choice for that person to do it rather than something they're forced to do very quickly because they're unsure of what the future may hold. It's a continuous battle that's going to be fought for years on end until, you know, a good, wholesome solution happens for everybody.